I've been thinking about the war in Iran, and I've tried to make this rubric to help myself think through how it's going. I have 4 different categories with a few items in each category. The first category is damage, how much damage we are inflicting on the enemy versus how much damage they are inflicting on us. And my first item in this category is aircraft. We've flown over 8,000 sorties against Iran. And according to recent reporting in Bloomberg, we've lost at least 16 U.S. military aircraft. We can compare those numbers to Desert Storm against Iraq in 1991, where the U.S. Air Force lost a total of 14 aircraft after flying more than 29,300 sorties. So in terms of aircraft losses per 10,000 sorties, we're doing much worse. We have around 20 aircraft lost per 10,000 sorties in Iran versus 4.78 in Desert Storm. And we actually had more aircraft in the 1990s, and they were cheaper. So we're losing more expensive aircraft at a faster rate than in Desert Storm. But on the other hand, it's not like catastrophic losses in terms of aircraft. And Iran is a more capable opponent. So I'm giving us 75% for aircraft damage. In terms of the damage our air campaign is doing, I'm giving us 100%. So we're hitting thousands of targets, hitting targets at will, air superiority over most of the country. It seems like we're performing there. In terms of our Navy, in terms of ships, we seem to have sunk Iran's Navy while sustaining only minor damage to our major ships. You might say, well, Iran has still closed the strait, so even without their Navy, they're still achieving some objectives. And that's true. We'll get to that. The next category in damage is civilians. According to reporting in Al Jazeera, there have been 1,400 people killed in Iran. I expect that's probably low, but if we accept that number, and we acknowledge that 168 children were killed in a bombing on a girls' elementary school, that estimate would give us 12% of the dead are school children. WarEscalation.com is open source intelligence. They report that about 50% of the deaths on Iran's side are civilians. So I'm giving that category 0. In my opinion, unacceptably high percentage of the deaths are school children. In terms of strategy, I think about the objectives, which in my opinion are not clear. So the White House has been consistently saying 3 things: destroy their missiles, destroy their Navy, never obtain a nuclear weapon. But military leadership doesn't have those exact same objectives. For example, there's a day on March 10 with a press conference with Secretary Hegseth and General Kane. Hegseth repeats the 3 objectives that the White House has: destroy their missiles, destroy their Navy, never nuclear weapons. And General Kane, in that press conference, has a different set of 3 objectives. He agrees with destroy their missiles, destroy their Navy, but his 3rd objective.
And 3rd, we continue to start working on and going deeper into Iran's military and industrial base in order to prevent the regime from being able to attack Americans, our interests, and our partners.
So he doesn't mention nuclear weapons. I feel like it would be nice if our generals and the White House had the same objectives, literally the same 3. And then, of course, there's just the general messaging problem from Trump. Sometimes he says, we don't need the Strait of Hormuz. Our allies will do it. The Strait of Hormuz is safe. You just need to have guts to run through it. We've already won the war. And sometimes Trump is threatening, we'll destroy your power plants if you don't immediately reopen it. So Trump isn't consistent. He seems very confused. There's confused messaging. The White House and generals don't always articulate the same objectives. But the White House has at least said the same 3 objectives several times, so I gave them 25% for that. Next, in terms of a credible theory, how do we accomplish that Iran will never have nuclear weapons or that they'll never be a threat to us? How do we force them to reopen the Strait of Hormuz? In my opinion, there's no credible theory articulated from the White House, so I give them a 0% for that. And likewise, are we on track? Well, I don't think so. For one, we don't have clear objectives, and there's no theory of how we're going to achieve our unclear objectives. So it'd be hard to say we're on track to do those things. The Strait of Hormuz is still basically closed. If we look at number of deaths in the US-Israel side, number of deaths is actually increasing, suggesting to me that Iran's offensive capability has not been neutralized. The people of Iran including the Kurds, have not risen up to overthrow their government the way Trump hoped. In terms of being on track, it just doesn't seem like we're getting there. Next category is economics. This has obviously had a big effect on the price of oil. Here, it's one of the biggest effects since the sanctions on Russia. On the other hand, only a small amount of oil bound for the US goes through the Strait of Hormuz, and the US is a large exporter of oil. So maybe this isn't the worst thing in the world. I gave it a 25%. In terms of the Strait of Hormuz being closed, that's bad. That's a bad outcome. It's going to be destabilizing for the entire global economy, which is going to have disruptions for the US. So I'm giving us a 0. We haven't opened that yet. In terms of damage to the nearby countries, Iran attacking the oil production in the nearby countries, it doesn't really seem like we were prepared for that. Trump was saying he was surprised by Iran strikes on the Gulf countries. Nobody expected Iran to do that. And so the attacks on the Gulf countries' oil production, those will increase the cost of oil going forward. And that's going to be destabilizing to the global economy and to the US economy. So it seems like we're paying a price that it's not clear we expected to pay for this. Bad. Final category is morality. Constitutional. Is this war constitutional? Is Trump doing what he's supposed to? Of course not. The war is not constitutional. The president has unilaterally decided to take us into a war. And you can say, oh, well, every president does that. And there's some truth to that, but it's still not constitutional. Next item is, well, this was a surprise attack in the middle of negotiations with Iran, that a representative from Oman said that the negotiations were going well and they were promising and so on. We decided to attack Iran in the middle of negotiations by surprise. In my opinion, that is immoral, and it will also hurt our ability to do negotiations with Iran and other countries in the future. So I'm giving them a 0 for the surprise attack in the middle of negotiations thing. And then finally, targeting civilians. Trump has just recently said that he's going to target power plants in addition to killing a school full of children. So I'm counting that pretty heavily against the administration for morality as well. In terms of a total grade, I weighted the categories like this. Strategy is the most important thing. If you have a bad strategy, what are you doing? You're accomplishing the wrong things. And I gave a total grade based on the items that I've presented so far of 12.29%. Do you agree with me? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for your time.